I'm Mary.
And I'm Joe.
And we're Book Buds.
And today, Mary is going to tell us about a series that she thought she was going to love, but she didn't.
Yeah.
Uglies by Scott Westerfeld.
A little disappointed. Now, I didn't hate this series, but at the same time, I don't think I'd go around recommending it to everybody. So we did a review on Uglies, and we had a reenactment for that, so we'll link that in the description below. And I liked the first book. It was decent, and I was intrigued to see where this was going to go. The basic storyline was that you had people up until the age of 16 who were ugly, and they didn't get their transformation surgery until their 16th birthday, when they went and had a surgery and their brains were modified and become pretty and happy.
When you're pretty.
And they just party all the time. And so some people started to think like, hey, this is wrong, and I'm going to try and break off from this weird way that we live our lives and run out into the woods and try to meet some other people that don't go through that change. So I loved the first story. I was so intrigued. But then the second story is called Pretties. And so when you're in the head of these pretties, the way that they're talking is they're bubbly making and they're having this great time.
Funny.
And like bubbly making, like I've started saying like at home, I'm like, this is stress making. Like it's a weird way to talk.
That's how they talk?
They totally, throughout the whole book, you're just in this pretty mindset.
Got it. That's irritating.
So it was irritating. I still, when I was reading Pretties, I liked the storyline enough, but the way it was written, I'm like, how do I recommend this to anybody? It's just so bizarre, you know? Okay. So then the third book is called Specials, and Specials are like these badass people that you fear, and they're kind of like, you know, the police, but like totally like transformed special agents of this police for the community. And you never see the specials because everything's bubbly in Pretty Town, right? But when things aren't bubbly, the specials come in and you should fear them. But so this third book of Specials, there was a little bit of talking in the second book about some individuals being called cutters. And so by the third book, when we had Specials, a lot of these individuals were cutters, and they got like a high from cutting themselves that would help them zap out of their pretty mindset and have like a more reality focus, like seeing things crystal clear kind of vibe. And I couldn't get on board with, even though they weren't loving these characters and portraying them in a desirable light, just the constant emphasis on these cutters. I was like, I don't want any of like my kids reading this book, other kids reading this book. Now, while maybe people have had the experience where they themselves have been cutters, I don't know that they're going to find anything that they identify with in this book and be like, wow, that really helped me to think about things in my life differently. And maybe I, you know, can change my behavior myself about my cutting. There wasn't anything like that. So just the fact that it was in this book in such an abundance, it was hard for me to really enjoy the story.
That's true.
So the main character does go through some interesting transformation through all of these stories, and it was, I didn't mind the story about what she was doing with this whole chapter where with the specials and everything, but it just kind of soured it for me that there were so many cutters in the story, you know? So if you're an adult and you're not at risk to yourself or anything like that, go ahead, you can read it, it's fine. But I wouldn't go recommending this to any young adults that have any stress in their lives that they have a hard time managing. Just saying. So then the series wraps up with extras. And I was thinking like, well, maybe it's going to redeem itself. It's going to bring it all together in a different way than I was expecting or something like that. But the whole beginning of the book were with completely different characters. I have none of my original characters that I've come to know and love. And I'm like,
no, I don't like that.
What's going on? I feel like we're on a different side of the world and everything. And I was like, but this story is not related at all. Why is it a part of the series? So I'd say maybe like a third or halfway through, you do have the character come back in, and they're more of like a side character. They're less significant in this story, but they're there, and you see them again, and you get to see how things have progressed. And there's a very odd creature that comes into this story that kind of wraps up the world in its twistedness in a very different way than I would have expected. So if I could step back overall and look at it, I mean, the story is interesting and it makes sense, but it didn't thrill me. So I'm being nice. I don't want to like cut down any author and their creative views here or anything like that, but it just, you know, it wasn't one that I ended up feeling as good about, especially compared to how I felt after reading the first book. The first book was much more interesting, and I was intrigued to see where it would go.
Wow, I'm sitting here listening to you, and like usually, like I don't care what people think about books. Like if I want to read it, I'll read it anyway.
Yeah.
But like I'm like really taking your word for this. Like I don't think I'm gonna waste my time on this.
Yeah, I don't think
Because I trust you.
And I know what you like to read,
She
so
knows me.
I would say for you, no, don't read it.
Yeah.
But there could very well be individuals out there that want to read this, and I'm sure there's people that love the series. So
Yeah.
if you love the series, let us know. I'd be curious to hear that and what parts of it like you identified most with and loved the most about it. It just didn't come home for me.
All right. Well, good for you for not DNFing it.
Yeah, no, I like to stick with things.
That's good. Good for you.
Thank you.
That's good. All right. Well, if you're enjoying Book Buds, give us a thumbs up.
And share us with your friends.
And subscribe to our channel, Book Buds!
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe.
All right.
Wow, how efficient that was.
Right? Let me hold your book.
That was good, dude.